Artisan mentoring program where we talk all things Pianocraft and philosophy, the meaning of life, everything deep, including not taking showers if you're in Texas. So I'm your host for today, along with Stacy, and today is Friday. Today is Friday, and it has been a week. But it's been for us, I would say, for Artisan, kind of one of those pinnacle weeks as far as like big conversations, big directional things, and things that we as a company kind of need to do. And so we're excited. I'm excited about that. I think Stacy's like, that's a lot. What are you feeling like, Stacy?
It's just, I'm grounding it all. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's one thing to have the idea, and then there's the other thing to like, okay, all the details, all the people affected, all the scheduling, all the things, systems, operations affected when you make a big pivot. It's just kind of a lot. And I have to like think of like how to like, how, you know, because everything affects everything, right? So it's just all that, but it's good. It's always good. And I have said this before, but the ability to figure it out is the best skill you can have. So no one knows how to figure it out at first. And sometimes you have to fire, aim, and then ready. Sometimes that's just how it is. And or nothing will happen, right? So if you just plan and plan and plan, nothing will happen. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Well, in these types of moments, it's good to have some kind of core thoughts, some core principles. And that's why I thought today would be a good topic, which would be 3 things that you should not feel guilty about spending money on. And now there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm talking specifically with running your company, with running a piano servicing company. This is specifically 3 things that I've kind of over the last 2.5 decades kind of started to be like, you know what? No, I've always seen returns on these investments, whether they're monetary, spiritual, physically, all of those things. And so the first thing that I always recommend technicians that, piano technicians do, and spend money on within reason. Now, again, some of the, this is just within reason, but honestly, there's nothing more exciting, inspirational than buying tools. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, you buy tools because it'll make the job easier. That's not why I buy tools. Buying tools keeps me in love with the craft. And so that is one that I'm a big fan of. When people are saying, hey, I just bought this tool, I don't even care what it does. I love seeing the look in their eyes because they just fell in love with what they do again. And this is, right here, I looked in the drawer. I'm like, what tool? I'm like, I love, these are cabinet screwdrivers. They're oval so that they don't roll off the bench. And they're wood handle, they're gorgeous. And this helps me stay in love with what I do, because there's days where it's just like, good grief, what am I doing? What is going on? Life is hard. And a lot of times it's outside things that make it hard, because the reality is what we get to do is just so amazing. It's so amazing. We get to go and inspire people, bring happiness to people with the work that we can do with our hands and our body. That's insane. But sometimes the bills, life, kids, spouses, whatever else, it can kind of feel like you're in a pressure cooker. And sometimes it's nice to just go buy a tool. And it just is like, oh. So I don't know. Are you guys like this? What do you think, Stacy?
I love this because Dave and I were just talking this week. Like, one of the things I try to ask every day is, what can I get excited about today? Because some weeks are just going through a lot. And sometimes that could be the thing to look forward to. Like at the end of the week, like if you have something to look forward to, even when it's hard, it really does just kind of lighten things up when things are heavy. And you're so right. There's all these outside things that can affect us. And we have no control over some of those things. And so that's to just have something to look forward to or be excited about. And every time techs bring up tools, like our tech, like Cobran, our lead tech, you guys, he bought some tools, right? and he like made this like epic video. Like it was 10 minutes long, like going, like telling me all of his tools, like showing them off. And I was like, wow, like he got me excited. So yeah.
It keeps you in love with the craft. So what is your next tool that you think would do that for you? I'm just curious for each of you. Maybe it's a tuning hammer. Maybe it's a dip block. What is it? Michael, I know you have something in your back.
Well, I'll tell you a story of what happened this week in that, you know, we were talking about tilting pianos and the tilter that you could buy and stuff. I have another tech that ran across somebody that had a tilter that they wanted to sell. So I got a tilter for over half price. For, you know, less than half of what I would have spent for brand new. And so that was my new tool for this week.
Oh my gosh, you were thinking about it. It just like appeared.
We were talking about it. We had the session on tilting and doing the CA treatment.
Oh my gosh.
It was hilarious of the timing. It's like, look what manifested in my life.
No traction.
No kidding. That's a great tool. I love those.
So that's my new fun tool that I get to play with.
Yeah, it is.
Mine would be the tilter as well, and also action cradle.
Action cradles, yes, totally. Just so you know, they make the action cradles, and then they have these little sled pieces that attach to it. I'm not a fan of the sleds, so I usually just remove those. And if you can buy them without it for cheaper, I always do that. I find that the sleds kind of get in the way. I understand the reason for them. Victor, are you the same way, or do you like the sleds?
I use the sleds only because I work on a lot of full-size uprights, and the legs sometimes aren't long enough, so the stickers will hit the table.
Oh, okay. So maybe get the sleds, Johnny. Victor's more right. That's a great tool. Those are great tools, and those ones are nice because talk about make you fall in love with the craft. They make you fall in love with it because the cradles make your life so much easier. Like we have 2 actions in cradles right now over here, and it works so nice. So that's a great one.
Plus, when you get a new tool, then you get another thing to be excited about is like, when are you going to get to use it next?
Yeah.
So it's like double whammy. Great one.
And just like it manifested, once you get those cradles, I can guarantee you're going to manifest some work that you're going to need those cradles for. What about you, Justin? What's the next tool?
I think I also want to get an action cradle. It's been a nuisance working on mine without one.
I think that Howard sells them for the cheapest, if I'm not mistaken. I think a couple $100. I could be wrong, but if I were going to go get them right now.
Howard, it's about $150, I think.
Oh wow!
That's only with the legs. It might be cheaper in shaft. It's $190, but that's for the sleds and the legs.
Okay. What about you, Victor? What's your next tool?
Well, the newest tool I got, I was texting Michael the other day. I got a Rayburn key pounder, and it's really nice. It was the last one he had that was kind of like a custom one, so it has like epoxy live edge on the top. Super nice, and that's been really nice. It saves your hand. I didn't think it was gonna make that big of a difference, but when I don't use it, or like if I forget to use it, it definitely makes a difference. And the next thing I probably want to purchase is something for grands, maybe like a new let-off rack or something, a nicer one.
Yeah. With the key pounders, is it hard to? I could see it being easy to do on the naturals, but what about the sharps? Do you ever miss it?
Yeah, sometimes, but I kind of just extend my finger so that like you can kind of feel it.
Oh,
that helps a lot. Yeah, and the Rayburn one is really nice because it's pretty tall, so it's a little nicer for me because the keyboard's a little far sometimes.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you an extra few inches, so it's a lot more comfortable if I'm standing.
That's interesting. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I recommend trying one. I thought it would take a long time to get used to, but No, after like one piano, you're pretty much used to it.
Really? Because I think of it in my head. I've never done it. I think of it as trying to tune left-handed. You know, it's just like,
Oh yeah.
So that's helpful to know because I'm like, well, yeah, that's interesting. So you're saying that like with one or two or three pianos, you got it down.
Yeah, and especially like if you're doing a pitch raise, that really helps because I mean you're just pounding away.
Okay, all right. I might have to get one just because a lot of people ask me about them, and I feel like I'm not giving a good representation because I've never really done it.
Yeah, the one thing I do like about it is because it's kind of an oval egg shape, it fits in the palm real well. Because I have the same one that Victor has. The only caveat that I have, and it's to your point on the sharps, is that the Rayburn one kind of has a dimple on the rubber that's around the end that pounds on the key, and that dimple will want to slide off the sharps. It doesn't really have any effect on the naturals, but when you try to hit a sharp, sometimes it wants to kind of slip off. So that's the only issue because it has that little dimple. If it was flatter, then it would have been near perfect.
Interesting. Okay. Number two, something that I don't ever feel bad about investing in is actually education or mentoring or some kind of schooling for your craft. And the reason is it's not because, oh yeah, you'll learn stuff. It actually keeps you humble. And what I mean by that is I've worked with a lot of technicians that like got started, they learned some stuff, and then they just kind of went and did things on their own, and they never got other perspectives. They never got anything else. And the narrow-mindedness, made it almost unbearable to be around them, if I'm honest with you. And if they would have had some other education, gone to conventions, PTG, had some other mentoring, to PTA, whatever, it would have kept them malleable, I would say. I think that's the thing, is it keeps you humble, it keeps you malleable, it keeps you, your soils churned up and ready to be planted and grow. And so education is something I highly recommend, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's the Artisan mentoring. Maybe it's paying some local person to come in and shadow you. Maybe it's to go to these conventions once a year. But I highly, highly recommend spending the money on education and educating yourself because it keeps you humble as well as inspired and all these things. But if you have that mindset of just always like, I'm just a student of life. I'm a student of Pianocraft. That is huge. And spending the money on that keeps you doing that. I don't know if you guys what you guys think about that one.
Yeah, definitely using the phrase and living the phrase of a lifelong learner is to everyone's benefit because there's always something new out there. There's techniques that you might have learned a technique one way, but there's other ways to do the same thing, and maybe those other ways make it better for you. All of them are equally good. It's just because of your skill set, maybe one process works better than another, even if you can get to the final result a different way. And if you don't research that, if you don't reach out to others to learn about it, if you don't go to whatever the type of training or event that allows you to see that, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah. Another thing is everyone out there is better at you in at least one thing. And sometimes a lot of things. And so just remembering that is important. That's honestly one of the things that has been so fun for me about doing the mentoring is how much I've learned from all you all and just outside perspectives, things that you've tested out and worked and just I myself over the last year have grown a lot in just my understanding of all the different options for doing things, and then even having to like push myself to like ask questions and answer questions. So I highly recommend continuing to get education all the time. That's a big deal. And I think that a lot of people think of things as I've arrived. I'm tuning pianos. I don't have to do that, but I think that they sell themselves so short, and I think that it's easy to turn into something that maybe fast forward years down the line, they'll regret. They'll regret that they became somebody who's not approachable, somebody who's not teachable. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a lonely existence when you're that way. And I see a lot of technicians. I go to these conventions, and sometimes you meet technicians that are just there not to learn, but to be seen, that are there to just kind of, they're not there for the right reasons, I would say, in some cases. And so, highly recommend spending money on education in whatever form that looks like. But that's a big one. And a lot of people might say, no, but for me, let's just see, for me, that's a big one.
I also think what you were saying on the other end is really important. Like, always be mentoring someone. There's always someone that you can teach, and you get just as much, like you were just saying, you get so much out of teaching. So like, I think, like, I don't know, Victor, you have someone you're mentoring, like that you're this kind of apprenticing. I'm like, I don't know, whenever I help someone with a skill, like I get so much out of it too. It's so beneficial for me too.
It makes you rethink how you do things, and you got to figure out how to explain it. So it makes you understand it better yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I've been doing is one of the other techs who's fairly new in the Indianapolis area, we've been sharing stuff. So if you can find, while it's not an apprentice mentoring type of thing, it's a sharing thing. So we're, he shows me something that he knows that I don't, and I do the same thing with him, and we've been sharing and each learning from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's that sharing thing, that's so nice, because it's just like there's such a connection you can get with technicians, and I love that. And again, that I think that's changed over the last however many years. I think there's more of an openness that I see kind of permeating, and that's been super cool to see. So I'm glad whenever technicians have people in their area that they're like, no, my buddy over here, and he refers work, and I do this, and I'm like, yes, wow, that's amazing. The third thing that I recommend spending money on is spend money on your customers, because it keeps you kind. And what does that look like? That could look like so many different things. You're trying to, basically you're trying to bless your customer. That's what you're wanting to do. You're trying to give back. That's what you're doing. And so, yes, we're doing that with the skills and the things that we've learned, and we're applying that to their piano. But sometimes there's like little other things, little gifts, whether it's business cards, whether it's key covers, whether it's a good website that's very helpful to them. And those take money. That takes money, and that takes time, but it keeps you kind and in the right mindset. And so whenever people are telling me, hey, I'm spending money on tools, I'm like, yes. Whenever people are saying I'm spending money on education and things of that nature, Michael, you've done a lot of that. And then when people say, I also spend a lot of money on doing these things for the customer experience, I'm just like, yes, that. Because you will get there. You can't have a scarcity mindset when it comes to this. And giving back, spending money on your customer, that may look like a warranty program that to other people doesn't make sense. It may look like a care packet that they get. It may look like monthly whatever, this or that. But you will find that not only does it pay off in the long run, but in the immediacy of it, you feel like you just feel different, and it feels good. And I don't know, you all can shoot that one down. That's fine, because that's kind of an outside the box one, but that's what I found when I'm at my healthiest. I'm in that mindset. So
I love that. I think, and it giving doesn't have to even be money or a gift. It could be your time and just the thoughtfulness, like giving your energy to something like that. But a lot of times it will be your time. You're just a little extra time with the customer. We get these customers that are, some of them are just so sweet and they just want to talk for another 5 minutes, and that's okay. Like, you're giving them your presence, right? Yeah, there's so many ways to do that, and it always feels good. It always does. Yeah.
It really does. Spending on money on the tools keeps you in love with the craft. Spending on money on the education and learning keeps you humble. And then spending money on your customers keeps you kind. And those are kind of 3 things that I'm like, hey, those are 3 things that I never will bat an eye on if that's what you're spending money on. Those are 3 really good investments. Curious, what are each of your 3 that you can imagine for your business that's like, hey, I like, for my business, I want to be healthy, so I will always spend money on whey protein and a blender. That's your thing. What are your 3 things?
Gazelle.
Gazelle, that's a great one.
Gazelle.
That's a good one. Gazelle. Gazelle is not just a software program. It's
a virtual assistant is what it is.
It's a what?
A virtual assistant.
Yeah. Yes.
It really is so helpful. Oh, it's so helpful to see these automatic texts go out to these customers and emails. And I just had to set it up, and it's just running, and I'm seeing people schedule online because we have an online scheduler. And you don't want to make it impersonal, but wow.
Yeah.
That just save you so much time. It's so great. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. Gazelle.
And it saves you time with the drives. It tries to optimize things for you, and you can set, there's a lot of benefits to having that kind of help for sure.
Yeah. 25 years ago, there was just no software out there. And so it was just, we didn't even really have GPS in our cars. We just had one of those big old map books that we were just like, all right, this is where I'm going.
And we didn't have Google Calendar. I can't even imagine.
To be a piano technician in today's age is really fun because there's a lot of offerings, whether it's an ETD or Gazelle and stuff like that. There's a lot of really nice tools that you have at your disposal. So I love that. Gazelle is a good one.
I agree. We just we got this tech note cards the other day. Like, he's like, like the retiring tech note card thing. I've talked about this if you haven't experienced it. So you kind of get excited looking through, but they always wait about 15 years too late to hand them off. So I was looking through, and that's how they did it back then. Just, they had that name, address,
the date,
sometimes, usually what they charged, and it's always in the Rolodex. It was exactly the way I always see it. And
there was one, Stacey, that was like 1991 on it or something like that.
Oh, most of them are from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And I'm like, I was going through, it was a pretty big thing, but I was like, hey, let me just try to find anything within the last 5 years. And I found like 2. So sad. And then I'm like, okay, maybe 10 years. And I found a few, but it was like, okay, well, before they had area codes. And but yeah, that's how it was done though. But it's so interesting across the board. That's how it was done everywhere. And now look at what we have. We are so blessed.
Yes. All right. What's another one? Gazelle, virtual assistant. What is it?
An ETD.
ETD.
A good ETD.
A good ETD. I think it's not only makes things so much more efficient, I actually believe that it's better for your health. Because when I'm tuning orally, I'm pounding those notes to hear things the way I need to hear them. And I found that when I switched to an ETD, I just didn't have to tune as hard. So hopefully that'll help me in the long run with tinnitus. Victor, what do you think?
For sure. And the oral fatigue is much less. If you're tuning orally all day, it kind of can be a lot mentally. 'Cause, yeah, you're pounding everything real hard. Am I getting these beats right? But,
Yeah,
if you're using ATP, it kind of relieves some of that.
totally does.
So we're still doing the system. You know, it's tuning unison is a lot better than tuning intervals.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. What's another thing that you will not regret spending money on, that you're okay with that money being spent?
Professional earplugs.
Ooh.
So here's
Can I-
mine. I've actually had mine for a long time, even
What are
before
they?
I started. Is a West Tone.
West Tone. That's a good one.
So these are actually molded to my own ear.
Oh wow.
So you get them molded from an audiology
Really?
technician.
How much do they cost?
I forget what the molded price is. The filters themselves, because you can pop the filter out and have different versions.
Okay.
So I have ones that are maximum like 40 dB that I put in for like going to on an airplane, and then I swap them out, and I have ones that are like 15 or 25 dB,
Okay.
and for doing the piano tuning. So that's one thing that you wouldn't regret spending money on.
Is it about $100, Michael?
I don't remember how
A little
much.
more.
It's been too long since I spent the money on getting the molding part, because that's when I was an IT professional and needed earplugs for the comm room.
Oh.
So it's been. I mean, I've had these for 10 plus years. So,
Wow.
but I also
Have
I bought updated filters for when I started doing piano tuning, because I needed some lower dB filters.
Have you tried earplugs, David?
Most people don't know this about me, but usually if you ever see me out in the wild or whatever, I always have gauze in my ears that nobody actually knows about. I'm pretty sensitive to sound, and I didn't realize it until I'm fairly recently, in the last 5 years. I don't know if it's a disorder, but I'm very sensitive to sound, and I get overwhelmed with it. And I spent my entire life getting overwhelmed by sound and not knowing, until one day I just kind of put some gauze in my ears. And so usually I have gauze in my ears whenever anybody sees me. It's another reason I have long hair, so nobody can see it, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I recommend trying it. You might be surprised that you might be a little bit sensory overwhelmed. And so I found that when I started doing that, my heart rate literally started to come down, and I was just able to hear people be in situations just in ways that I had a hard time with before. And I just kind of roll it up in little balls and put it in there, and it's just little toilet paper. And I found that is just really helpful. It just takes down just everything down a layer, that it's like nothing's coming at me the same way. So I do that. It's the less professional. It's the poor man's earplugs.
Well, even if you don't get earplugs, having, if you think about your health, get your ears checked as a piano tuner on a regular basis. And I got a recommendation from one of the RPTs at the conference saying that if you go to a place like Costco that have a place where you can get your ears tested, that record stays on the Costco database, and you can go to any Costco and have it retaken, do comparisons against it. So that was an interesting tidbit of news that I didn't know about.
Yeah, that is good.
I think that's really smart to have your hearing checked periodically. I mean, I was on the phones a lot, right? I've got 12 years on the phone. So at first I was like this all the time, right? And then I noticed my chiropractor's like, stop, just stop, So then I went from that to like the little like earplug things, right? But I had to hear what was going on around me, so I'd have one in and the other out while I was on the phone. That helped with like my posture again. But then when I get my hearing checked every once in a while, and I had lost hearing in the ear from the from the earplug, from the, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've lost hearing in this ear. Cause this is the one I always put the speaker in, or whatever you call it. What is it? Earphone?
Yeah.
Sorry. And I was like, well, what do I do? And that's when this was like 5 years ago, he recommended like the aftershocks, you know, because then I can still hear what's going on and I can answer the phone and I can like it. But yeah, that's been a huge help. But I would not have known that if I hadn't gotten my hearing checked. So
that is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would treat it like because not everybody gets their eyes examined every year, but every couple of years, it's probably smart to have it checked.
Yeah.
It's so true. Those little health indicators. Like, I didn't know I had astigmatism and that I can't drive at night unless I wear glasses. Like, there's things that you don't realize that you're suffering from until you like get them checked. They're like, yeah, like my husband, he got his hearing checked and they're like, oh yeah, did you like they didn't realize he'd lost like 60% of hearing in one of his ears. And then he's like, oh yeah, I did like burst my eardrum when I was a kid. Like what? So yeah, he got to have surgery and he can hear again. And now the kids in the classroom don't do stuff behind his back. So it's great.
Wait a second. You wear glasses?
I have glasses for driving at night. I don't really need them during the day, but I can't legally drive at night without them because I literally can't, like, it's astigmatism. So like the contrast of the light and the dark, I can't see anything. And I just thought that was normal. But when I first got them, you guys, I remember looking outside and I could see the moon and I had never like seen it clearly before. And I was like, whoa. Just things you take for granted. So yeah, it's good to have a physical every few years and just get things checked. Yeah. I mean, I've learned you guys, I really have learned some hard knocks from not getting checked by doctors, like this summer I ended up in the ER in the hospital and if I would have just like gone to the doctors every once in a while, I probably could have prevented that. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. So we got.
Yeah, I'll add one. I guess you're losing out on money, but it's kind of the same thing. Having movers do your moves.
Investing in movers doing the moves instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah, that's like what State's talking about, like at another house, just have them do it.
I feel like, Victor, you and I have moved a lot of pianos. I know Stacy's moved a piano or two. I feel like it's one of those things. I don't know why. This picture came into mind if you've ever seen The Princess Bride, when he's like in the torture thing and he's like taking years off of his life. I feel like every time you move a piano yourself, you're like taking a year off your life.
It's so true.
No, just don't do it. Don't do it. I don't know.
There's a form to it, right? Like there's a way to do it right.
Yeah.
You don't get injured, but you do have a risk of being injured. And it's true.
Yeah, there's a right way to do it, but still there's like small moments where you just have to kind of manhandle it, and that's usually when things happen.
Yeah. There's a right way to go skydiving too, but at the end of the day, you're still.
It's true.
Die.
I worked with piano movers for 7 years, and all of them got injured at least once, where they had to take some time off because they got hurt.
Sean, our newest technician, he had a Mason and Hammond basically fall, and he caught it with his shoulder and tore his rotator cuff, and he's gonna have that. He's early 20s, mid 20s. He's gonna have that forever. And it was unavoidable. It was just such a fluke thing that happened. He was doing everything right, and it just.
That is true. You got to think of your future self in those kind of things. Like think of your future self.
I made a good relationship with some movers when I was looking for two pianos to work on, or a piano to work on. Called a company that had pianos and also offered moving. And they're like, yeah, we got two pianos. We never use them. You can have them. How do you want them to deliver? I was like, well, how about I pay for y'all to deliver so y'all get something out of it? I'm like, perfect. So what movers now that I have.
Oh, that's cute. That's cool. They just had 2 random pianos.
Yeah, they said we try to sell them at first, but they were more of the vintage look, and everyone wanted more modern.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Yeah, if you want them," like, "I'll take them."
No,
Whatever you got.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you look at the turnover in the companies that move pianos, you can't do that for. Although I don't know, I can't say that. I know some guys that have been doing it for like 20 years, but when you see how they do it, they are like slow and steady, and there's not like grunt work involved in how they do it. So I mean, it's just a totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the flatbed that can lower.
They use
that
all
makes
the
such
stuff.
a difference.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, the good movers have all of the sleds and dollies that are needed to
The stair
do it.
climber.
Last Pianos bought one of those, and they ended up regretting it.
Oh, those are expensive.
It was so expensive, and they just never really used it. Oh, this was the reason. Because they didn't realize how much room it was going to take in their truck. And so they're used to stacking a bunch of pianos in their trucks to do the moves throughout the day. And it went from them being able to do like 6 pianos to them being able to do 4 or 3. And so it basically just eliminated their ability to make their income for the day. So, but I think for folks like us, it's like the perfect thing. But I think they're like 40 grand. So.
Yeah. Did I tell you all about the Mason double C that fell on one of the dealers here? It fell on his head. They cracked his skull.
Is he alive?
Yeah. He doesn't like talking about it.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Talk about trauma.
It would have squashed his head, but his head kind of went in between 2 of the beams. He kind of slid in there at the last second. But yeah, it was a Mason double C. I mean, they're the heaviest of them all of them.
The Mason, the 9-foot Mason weighs more than a 9-foot Steinway and a 7-foot Steinway on top of each other.
Oh yeah, it's got the dual tension resonators, the full perimeter whitetail. I mean, it's a good 400 pounds. Yeah, heavier than a Steinway D.
Ugh. Yeah, you just hear horror stories like that. A lot of times things happen when you're dropping the piano on the skid, and if your leg is in the wrong spot, somebody snapped their leg off. Not off, but like.
Yeah, I can slide off the skid board and hurt the piano. Yeah, I've seen I have like eight stories I could tell you about really awful piano moves. So yeah,
That's a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah, to be said, very good.
Right.
These are really good suggestions, you guys.
All
your suggestions really, really good.
Yeah.
I put a link for earplugs that are pretty good. I know a lot of people that use these.
Okay.
They're called ear racers, like a racer. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they have the same thing. Like what Michael's saying, you can do different filters.
Okay.
19 decibels, 26, and then like a max 40. That's nice.
Interesting. Yeah, I wear earplugs when I sleep because I'm so especially because I just get I hear everything. Like someday I'm gonna write a book. It'll be like a science fiction book of like how this piano tuner could hear into the other realm that's out there, like the ghosts and stuff like that. Someday I'll give you guys the book. It'll be amazing. Next Stevie.
That's what David Anderson talks about. He says it opens up a portal and you can hear things that nobody else can hear.
That's right.
Yeah.
A radioactive piano fell on him, and now.
But these earbuds are really good because they have they're high fidelity, so it just turns everything down. It won't mute anything. Everything's still just as clear. It's just turned down.
How much are they, Victor?
They're $50 on the website, but I think you can get them cheaper. Like if you order from like guitarcenter.com or one of those websites.
Really affordable.
I think they're $40. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to pick some of those up because
Yeah.
Sometimes it's weird when people look in my ears and they're like, "What's that white thing in your ear?"
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, these are really small. Like you can't even, if you had them in, if you didn't tell somebody, they might not even be able to tell. That's how small they are.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny, you don't have that problem. You could probably be wearing full-on headphones and nobody have your hair over it.
That is the nice thing about hair. No one knows I've ever got headphones on. Like they can never see them. It helps.
Thanks for the recommendation, Victor. I give lessons at Guitar Center on Sundays, and I get a pretty decent discount. And I always see those headphones, those earplugs, and I've always been curious about it. So I'm gonna get some.
Oh, I would try that.
So, any other things that you're like, hey, I spent money on this, and I'm like, never regret it? Just so curious. I thought, Victor, you're gonna be like, I think everybody should own a Randy Casado tuning hammer, something like that.
Well, I do think so. And yeah, I'm super biased, but yeah, I think they're the best. Or at least something from Randy. Just like you're saying, like nice tool or something. But especially your tuning hammer, I mean, that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we use all the time.
Or if you're like Alan, our lead tech in Seattle, I think he's like wants one for every year. I think he's just like collecting them.
I want to ask Randy to make a custom combination tool handle.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna ask him because I mean that's another thing you use. Like,
by the way, I like having 2 or 3 of them, just because I like having ones that just always have one particular tool in it.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I like that. So he may not want to do just one. So if you have him do like 3,
Yeah.
Get them to match your tuning lever.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I did put pictures of my Raper key pounder in the comments.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the chat right now.
In the chat. Yeah, how do I see? Oh, yeah, there it is. Open chat. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Looks like a pterodactyl egg or something. That's cool.
Dinosaur. Yeah, it's really nice and it's really heavy. That's what I like about it because Ramsey's has one, but it's really light. Like it weighs nothing. But I think for a key pounder, you want it to be heavy.
Yeah, I kind of
actually
want to weight.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to put as much force in hitting it, but since it's so heavy, it's like you're hitting it really hard.
Yeah.
So it really helps your wrist out too, so you're not having to strike so hard.
Yeah, I need to try it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try that. Yeah. Actually get some professional headphones or some things for my ears. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think they're not very.
Michael flexing on us.
So this is my key pounder.
It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
It's nice that they match.
Yeah, that's really pretty. It's just so pretty. I don't know why I'd never heard of a key pounder until like a year ago. Is that weird that I've never heard of that before? Have they been around forever?
Yeah, I feel like now a lot of people use them,
yeah.
But Rayburn's are really affordable. I thought they were going to be more expensive. I only paid, I think it was $80 for mine. I'm not sure what you paid for yours, Michael, but I thought that was
I think I got mine for like 70 or 80 as well.
I think it's definitely worth it.
They're just gorgeous. Just so gorgeous.
I feel like there's people like Randy, they're like Rayburn, that they're really embracing like Pianocraft, not as just, I think that a lot of tools were just kind of like, they're very utilitarian, they're just very much just about getting the job done. And there's been a wave of now like just beautifying the tools that we get to use. And I think that that's pretty fun. And I like that that's happening more and more. Now you do still have a lot of the carbon fiber, almost like that space age stuff, but that's beauty in its own way. I liken it to, if you do camping and backpacking, you kind of have two routes. You have more of your super ultra lightweight carbon fiber, and then you have myself, which I have like a canvas leather backpack with like steel whatever, and it's different experiences, right? And so it's kind of fun to see that happening in the piano servicing industry.
The other thing that everybody should have is one of the Artisan gauge tools.
Yes, you should. That should have been the whole thing.
I should have led with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have a good bag, I think, or whatever case you're going to use.
What's that?
Right. A good bag or case.
Oh, good bag.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for bags. Like, I have so many different bags. I'm always looking for that next bag. I think I found mine right now. So the other day I went to Classic Pianos. I was working on a piano, and my brother Adam came in, and he's just like, he honed in. He went right, zeroed in. He's like, what's that? Because I had like my miniature doctor's bag. And he's like, oh, that's... Because he works at Classic Pianos now, and he doesn't get to have a bag, right? Because you're just working in the floor. He has like this rolling cart, with all his tools and stuff. So, hey, bro, sorry.
I like Adam's hammer a lot. I know he comes out in a lot of pictures with the
he has a Kestrel, right?
Kestrel from Supply 88.
Oh, yes.
It's really nice. I like that handle. It's black wood.
So coming up, I'm going to do a, Mark doesn't know about this. Perny, if you're watching, I'm coming for you. But I would love to do just a session on just hammers. Just hammers. I'm going to show him the ones that I have, what makes a good hammer, why not, and things like that. So bring your hammer so you can say, ask him, because he wanted to create the most affordable but the lightest and the stiffest hammer in the world. So he literally has to sign this government waiver stuff to buy the type of carbon fiber he gets. And I'm like, what does that mean? Why do you have to do that? He's like, because apparently people could use it for like bombs and stuff like that. It's like so highly like monitored, this stuff that is in his tuning hammers. And you pick it up and it almost feels like it's like full of helium. It feels like it has like negative weight to it. And so totally the opposite of everything I've been used to, because my tuning hammer is pretty heavy. So he's making one for me right now. And so maybe that's what it is. I'll talk to him and I'll just say, hey, when that hammer's done, let's come to your house and we'll do the whole session on tuning hammers.
Yeah, those are nice. They're definitely the most bang for your buck. Because it's about half the price of a Rayburn or a
Yes. They're like $300, around $300. And I definitely, everything that Mark and Don create is just like chef's kiss, because there's so much thought went into it. It's just, it had to be perfect before he sends it out. They're just that way. So it's really kind of fun. And we're down there with Artisan, with a Phoenix branch. And so they're wanting to put more effort into their Supply 88. And so they're, sending tunings our way and stuff like that. And so we're really in great communication. So it's a lot of fun. Speaking of tuning, I have a service call I have to get ready for. So I will see you all on Monday, where we're going to go ahead and break apart this grand piano. And I'm going to do my full calibration technique process. All the angles set up just right so that we can kind of see me move from start to finish, to show you in real time in an hour what we do with the full lubrication. So we'll do that on Monday. So Stacy, Monday is I'll give you the cliff notes. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Happy Friday, everyone. We'll see you later.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th.
Happy Friday.